Welcome in everyone. I wanted to focus this video around the guns that you could select here on your side. Obviously with the lack of trades that we do own, every single trade in that is a guy over 500, 600k that can score really well for you is going to be super important. These are the guys that could make or break your season. I think they can very safely make or break your season. And a lot of these guys are going to be point of difference players as well. So I'm looking at guys that can average 50 plus fairly safely. They're not, a high chance of scoring 20s and kind of ruining your season. They could either keep you with the pack or with their point of difference status, they can take you to the next level. So when you're looking at the hooking stocks here, you've got Damien Cook, you've got Reed Marnie, you've got Connor Watson, Reece Robson, Harry Grant, Appy Coruscant, all these types of guys that can really do a solid job for you. But the guy that's least owned that I think can do a massive job for you is actually Jacob Little. Because you look at Reece Robson, he's the other one that's pretty low ownership, given a lot of people sold him through Origin. Harry Grant is fairly low ownership as well, but he isn't playing well enough at the moment. He could definitely have the upside, so he's the second guy I'd have on this list, but he's going to get rested at some point, whether it's round 26 or something like that. Whereas Jacob Little and Tom Starling are the two guys that will play every single game from here on in. And I do think have the upside to potentially hit sort of a 55 or 60 average and outdo the other guys on this list. So with Jacob, he has some really solid games this year in 2024, obviously there, which we'll go through now, with a 54 average of games over 60 minutes. So that's 4 points above where he's priced at the moment. He could definitely have games in the 60s there. He has a 74, 68, 68 at the beginning of the year as well, and some high 50s games as well. So all those could be very, very helpful. Their draw isn't anything to worry about. And yeah, I definitely think he's a really solid pick. And just also to note, guys, I'll be going through the potential holds and the sells and obviously the cheapies as well in the secondary video, which will be the quick fire one. I'll lob that in there as the other options there. So I think Jacob Little, a really good pickup, a 702k for a point of difference hooker who's only owned by 3% of the top 1,000 and top 5,000 there. Tom Starling, still only half of the people in the game own him. The top 5,000 there at 50%. So he's priced at 36 now. He's getting more expensive, but these are the 4 games that he's played over 60 minutes this year. 53, 51, 62, and 55. So he is a cheaper option at hooker that isn't going to break the bank, that has the opportunity to average just as much or more than all of the other guys on the list. Let's move to the mids now. And if you're looking at guys that could make or break a season, it's very clearly Payne Haas and Isaiah Yeo, given they're the two highest averaging players in the mids right now. And Payne Haas has the one buy left. So does Adam Fanua-Blake. I think it's harder to jump on Adam now just because you're getting him after a couple of tries. He could definitely still do that, but averages usually even out. Payne Haas is doing it without scoring tries, so it's a very safe kind of option for him to get a 62 plus type of average. We've seen it across a lot of years now. And then same with Isaiah Yeo, 62 for them. So they're the two big guys on the list. You've got Carrigan. I just wouldn't have him as a clear option. He has a buy. I don't think he has the clear upside with Haas in the team. Without, is a different story. Barnett, very expensive. I think he'll be a mid-50s to high 50s guy, but super expensive and has a buy. Colin Matangi, with Murray back, I think he loses a couple of minutes, which slows him down. We'll speak about Tarpanay. McInnes could do a job, but he has too many games which are low minutes. We'll speak about Murray. Cotter's a hold, clearly. And then that is all from there. So let's move on to that. Payne Haas, 818k. He's obviously a big dog. He's going to get over 60 minutes. Let's just pick those games over 60 minutes this year because there are few or far between, but it's 69 in 70 minutes there. So if you go over 50 minutes, which is basically every other game, he's still at a 63.5 average and he's priced at 58. So it's a very clear best option, Payne Haas. He can get in the 70s, he can get in the 80s and do an incredible job. Isaiah Yeo is obviously the little bit more of the meat and potatoes guy. I think there's more chance for him that, let's just say he plays the over 70 minutes from here on in for the rest of the season, that he's going to be at 63. So we know there that the ceiling isn't as high, but he's a little bit cheaper than that, obviously, of Payne Haas. And a 772 can do a really, really good job. So they're the top two guys. Joe Tarpanay has a really tremendous upside, obviously, in him. Priced at 52. averaging 53 for the season. We do see him now playing really good minutes this season. And when he does that, so over 50 minutes, he's at a 54 average, and that's in 56 minutes. So if it actually sticks as it has in recent history, he has some games in the 50s, he has a 40s game in him, and then he has some 70s games in him as well. He has a 94 in him, so there's definitely a world where Joe Tapine goes on a stretch of games where he can hit a 55 to 60 average and can score similar amount to those guys that I spoke about before. Definitely doesn't miss any games, right? So that's where the benefit comes with Joe Tapine and his fairly low ownership there. Cam Murray, 678k. So he's the point of difference at the moment. 0.8% of the top 5k. No one in the top 100 has him. So if you're in that top 100 or top 1,000 and you want someone that's a big point of difference, then Cam Murray is the guy. So the only main difference here is the fact that he's going to be playing some time on the edge and then moving into the middle for certain times. So you saw here Murray to the middle when Cheekham came onto the edge after 25 minutes. And it's something that could definitely happen again. They've got it set up that way. And in this case, he scored 52. And that was on obviously a post-origin kind of setup from him. In round 8, he got 70 in the 62 minutes of lock. If he's likely to play 80 minutes between second row and lock there, I think you can clearly expect him to score similar to where he has in the lock position in big minutes. So if you look at minutes over 50 minutes under 70 minutes when he plays lock, I think that's a very easy way to look at it. And when he does that across his career, it's at a 56 average just in 61 minutes. So if he plays the extra minutes, yes, some on the edge where he doesn't score as well, he could definitely be worth it at that cheaper price. So a very interesting one to look at. It's hard to gauge, obviously, when he's playing some time on an edge and some time at lock. But I definitely think that the more time that Murray's on the park, whether, if it's a half-half middle edge scenario or even more in this case, I think it's going to be a really, really good situation for him. So they're the main guys to look at in the middle there. For the edge, you've got Dave Fafita is the clear top guy on this list. You've got Barnett, Koloamatangi, and Crichton all doing great things, and they definitely need to be noted. I don't even think I clicked on Crichton for some reason, but let's start with Crichton now. We've also got some other options here like Preston and the like, which we'll speak about as well. Jeremiah and Anaya, these guys can do a job, but it's really the guys like Crichton, Fafita, Hudson Young that could all do a really good job. So let's start with Angus Crichton at 732k. Price of 52, averaging 54.5 for the year, but when we're looking at that average, that includes his games at the start of the season where he played the low minutes. So he's actually averaging 61. So Crichton, a really, really good guy to have that could be a boom or bust player. He got 86, 97, and 78 in 3 games on the trot. So if he does that in the back end, could be this week, could be after their buys. Lots of different ways where Angus Crichton can hurt you and be an incredible option for your side here in round 22, but if not this week, in round 24. Dave Fafita, very, very clear guy to own. He's very high ownership compared to that of Crichton, who is fairly low ownership at 11% of the top 1,000. So have a look at Crichton maybe before you look at Fafita. I think most people own him anyway. But if you're, there's 5.5% of the top 5,000 that don't own him, so maybe, your head-to-head comp, there's guys like that around it. And if you have Fafita, he could be really dominant for your side. Jacob Preston, 705k. We know that he can be an early 50s type of player. We've seen it this year in good minutes when he's starting, that he could do some damaging work there. So when he started this year, he's a 55 in 71 minutes, and there's a good chance that he does play 80 from here on out. They do have Jamin Salmon returning, but I do think that Preston is that guy that needs to play 80 minutes. He's so good. He's done it twice this year. He's got 83 and 65. So look at Preston. Get him in your side, or try to as much as you can. Hudson Young, and he's fairly cheap as well. Hudson Young's a bit different. Obviously, has scored really well in a few games this year. He's got a 79 in his bank, a 67. He's got the 92 and the 83 the last 2 weeks. So he's become a lot more expensive. He's priced at 54 now, but he has those games in him. And he could definitely go on stretches of games where he does dominate and is incredibly low ownership there. Teague Wilton's the next guy on the list at 488. He has gotten so cheap, it's actually crazy. Priced at 35 now. We know that across his career when he starts in the second row, he is a tremendous scorer there, averaging 46 in 77 minutes. And he's had stretches of years, especially in what's this, 2024, 2023 there. He averaged 47 in 75 minutes. Let's get those minutes up to where they should be. And to 49. So price of 35, if you need someone to round out your 17 and just get you a better scorer on a week-to-week basis, then Wilton is going to be that guy. Price at 35, I think definitely for the rest of the season. They don't come across any really difficult matchups coming up. So that's 2023. And then around 2024, he's had his low games. He had his better game on the weekend there, but that 30-23, he's probably the most risky guy on this list, but you are buying him at a 35 average, which is fairly low, obviously, there. All right, let's move to the half position. One person I didn't chuck into this is actually Braden Trindle, which I will get in. I was just going through all the top guys, but you've got Cleary, who's just a must-have, obviously. You've got Jamal Fogarty, I think could really take you to the next level. He's not incredibly owned at this point, but he could average in the 60s. Jerome Hughes will get rested at some point, so yeah, he's not on this list right now. Campbell could have incredible upside, averaging 55 for the season. Now, DCE we'll speak about next week. You've got Burton, you've got Johnson. Ben Hunt, potentially, to be fair, could be another option as well. So let's speak about Trindle first, as I forgot to throw him in there. But 551k, he is priced at 39, but we know that he is a much better scorer when he does play in that halfback position. So halfback in 2024, what we're looking at here is a 54 average with 3 tries and 4 try assists. He had that 9 goals against the Tigers as well. And their run is really, really nice. Bunnies, Titans, Newcastle, Dragons, Warriors, and Manly. No games ever where he should get shut down and physically dominated there at all. And then a 48 average in 2023. So again, similar to that with Wilton, you could pair the both of them, to be fair, and do a pretty good job and get some value out of the price point that you are buying them with, which is really, really cool. Cleary's a must-have. It's clear as day. Got 112 on the weekend, which is awesome. And then 76 the game before. Someone we need in our sides, and is back up to 874 very, very quickly. Fogarty we've spoken about, 735 there. When he has actually played the big minutes this year, he's averaging 62.4. So that's 9 points higher than where he's priced at right now and is not too highly owned. So really, really good one to have. Jaden Campbell at 732 in this 5/8 position. It's very, very clear that he is absolutely dominating right now. So 5/8 across his career. He does have these 3 games in 2023, so he's a different player from that right now, but he's actually averaging 63 in the 6 games that he's playing at 5/8. So you imagine with the goal kicking, with his talent, his tackle numbers are pretty good as well, that he should be able to hit somewhere in the mid-40s to 50, close to where he's priced at. He's fairly highly owned, but he's someone that I'm jealous of, as I don't own him anymore. But I do have him in Supercoach, so that's helping me get through it. But he's a really good upside play. Obviously, trades, as I said, guys, at the start, are very, very important and are very scarce right now. So I do think that if you are trading, it is from someone who's injured, someone's had a head knock, whatever it is, or you've got a 550k, 600k guy that you want to do a massive upgrade on, or you've got like a Willison that you want to trade to Wilton to get a better score. You've got Fainu who you want to go up with. Those types of players, I think, is the best ones to move on from in this next week or so. Someone who's not scoring too well, has a buyout coming. These types of players like Willison and Fainu, I think, are the best to move on from. SJ. Oh, sorry, I forgot to speak about Burton as we moved on. But 727 for him. He definitely has stretches of games where he has upside, right? He had a stretch there, 73, then have a couple of low games, 44, 27, but then 70, 67, 68. So he could definitely continue on that trajectory. The team's really good. The run's fine. So very, very low ownership. He could average 60 over the last 6 weeks and you're not blink an eye and really dominate for you. SJ feels like a bit more of a punt. He hasn't played well enough this year to really, especially the beginning of the year, he had that one low game. He's really, really good still to start, to be fair. And then he copped an injury, and since then he hasn't been the same, right? It was only a 3-game stretch, but it feels like a long time, 25, 30, and 20. So if he comes back and he's in good form, he does have Para, Dolphins, Manly over the next 3 weeks, and he could score great against those guys. If he's back kicking goals, if he's scoring good stuff, he could be an easy guy to plug into your side and do good things at 658k. He does have a high break even. This would be the week to get him if you were going to take this punt. But it's definitely a punt for sure, and a little bit worrisome if his body isn't well enough to go. All right, centre. Last two spots. This is a very interesting position. There's a lot of guys here to target. I think potentially Dane Gagai, Dylan Lucas, Lomax, Manu, Karaz in there. Herbie's solid. Obviously, Beaufort Moore, I think, is more solid rather than being like a game breaker type. Val Holmes, Hammer can both be game breakers for sure. And then you got the solid guys in Iro and Ramian. Dane Gagai, 699k. We know that he has massive games in him. The main worry probably is Penrith this week. I still think he'll score pretty well. Wait, how did he go? Did he play Penrith early on? Yeah, he got 40 against Penrith in round 15. So still had 8 tackle breaks, still did some good stuff. But he, if you wait for this week, he's then got Tigers, Sharks, Bunnies, Titans and Dolphins. And we know how he ended last year. He was absolutely crushing there, getting 70s for fun, basically, across the 6-week period. 51, 74, 43, 73, 64, and 70. He could easily come out and do that for the back end of the season here. Dylan Lucas, his other centre, mate. He's going to play left centre while Bradman Best is out. At 63k, we know that he's still scored fairly well when he has played centre this year. He's got a 45 there. He's got a 72 with a double and then a 51 at centre as well. So he could definitely average 50. It will definitely be a point of difference, and he covers edge as well. So it's more, again, past this Penrith game. I think he could easily outscore Beaufort Moore, and he can have those bigger games than Bo can. It's probably the comparison there at that price point for sure, but a really solid one. We know what Lomax can do. He's very low ownership at 675. He's got the odd tough team in there. I still think Melbourne, he can do a number on those guys for sure in getting the odd try and just getting his tackle breaks and whatever else. He has 103 in his realm, so definitely someone you can't avoid thinking about or potentially grabbing. But his main issue here is he's just really solid. 40s, low 50, random 70, 103, 38, that kind of range. So could be up and down. Dual position's cool. Plays the rest of the year, so definitely an option. Manu, a 600k. Could probably throw Dom Young in this bracket as well with Manu, but dual position, 600k. Higher break even, but we know that he has these big stretches of runs in him, 60s, 70s, and if Teddy was to go down in the next few weeks, then Manu would become that guy that could score really, really well. So at 600k, fairly cheap for a top tier gun, averaging 49, priced at the 43. Very, very simple. Could do a great job for you. Karaz, priced at 47. We know he has these massive games in him. We've seen it. 79, 62. We've seen 55s and 89. 63 in there. A couple of 50s is 72. So he has those bigger games. If he goes on a bit of a run here, the Dogs do. Canberra, Dragons, Dolphins, Warriors, Manly, Cowboys. It's a really solid run, dual position. He could definitely help you out as well, and is fairly high ownership as well. But if you're a Dogs fan or you like Karaz, then he could be cool. Someone that's extremely low ownership is Val Holmes at 577. He becomes very, very interesting. Obviously, against the Tigers this week, Broncos, Canberra. A really nice 3-game stretch for him. Into the bye, and then Melbourne and Dogs. But he's up against the Tigers this week, which is massive. He got 80 against the Tigers, even with the sin bin there in round 12. So if you could get anywhere near that, repeating that effort, that would be really cool. He's coming off 2 30s and a 54. 33, 34, 39, 36 in amongst some big games there. So if he can get back into some try assist, try scoring, which he kind of lost in this middle part of the season, he was doing really well at the front end of this season, and just kind of slowed down. But he's that point of difference guy that could probably hit you exactly where he's break even is at 45. I think he can hit that pretty easy across the 6 games or 5 games for him. It's just if there's an opportunity for him to go 55, 60, and I think there is definitely a little window for that to potentially happen, and the Cows to have a cracking end to the season. You got Hammer at 598. Not his best game on the weekend. He does play against the Roosters this week, but we know that he can score well against anyone. He got 77 against the Panthers in round 20. Yes, they were a little bit short, but the Roosters can sometimes be leaky, so you can get a bit lucky, but most of the time they've been really, really strong. Got the second best defense, I believe, this year. So you can take the punt if you want. I don't think he's going to score bad in any case. He's averaging 46 with a 5 in his average there, so he's sort of 4 or 5 points undervalued at where he's scored for the year, and he could definitely average 50 to round out the season. For the wing fullbacks, there's a couple of guys. Obviously, Jaden Campbell's dual position, but you've got Teddy, you've got Walsh, you've got Ponga, potentially To'o as well. But upside, a little bit, not a crazy amount there. You got Drinkwater that you could plug and play for a few weeks there as well, as an interesting one. But I'm going to focus on the 3 there. Tedesco, still not fully, completely owned, has a really nice stretch of games the end of the year. The hardest game in terms of defensively might be the Titans. Actually, will probably be Canberra, I should say. And then the Titans. They're probably their 2 toughest games. I think Dolphins are falling off a cliff a little bit, and defensively they're not up to standard. And, he's averaging 55 for the season with that 5 in 22 minutes. So price basically where he's averaged for the season. One of those game breakers that he could go 100 and it could really hurt you. Reece Walsh, I think he has less chance of going big tons than that of Teddy. Obviously, stats say that across their careers, but priced at 51, so he's basically where he's at minus that 2 out of his games this year, and he'd be like a 52, 53 type average there, and their runs nothing crazy. Obviously, Titans into Cows by is probably the big worry with Walshy. Could do a job. But Ponga's the guy that we know can go nuts. If he ends up with this goal kicking, which he did kick 1 goal in that round 20 clash, picked up a 52. The main issue this week is Penrith, but following that, it's a tremendous run. Guys like Marzu, guys like Ponga, Gagai, all these type of guys could go nuts. He's priced at 49 with a high break even. You could go this week, you could wait. Obviously, if you're taking a little bit of a risk, if you go for him this week and it doesn't work out exactly this week, you've got him then. You don't have to worry about that trade for the final 5 rounds where he could be that guy that averages 70. Last year, he was absolutely scintillating in the back end of the season, hitting 90s, 80s, high 70s, plenty of crazy scores there. Didn't have any games where he scored a double either. So if he happens to get one of them, he could go for the ton and be absolutely incredible. So there you go, guys. Just want to keep it short and simple this week with those guys that are about 500k and above, mostly the guns that could make or break your season. If you are looking to make a little bit of a push on your opponents, have a look at where those numbers are in top 100, top 1,000, top 5,000, and let that help make your decisions. If you're really happy with where you're ranked and you just want to hang there and be somewhere around that, maybe you go a little bit more with the crowd. If you're happy to, potentially either stay with the crowd, push right forward, or potentially lose some rankings, then maybe go for a couple of these point of difference players. But as I said, I don't think any of them have the ability to absolutely go shocking. The main issue would be an injury or something like that. If they got a couple of low ones, then got injured, that could be a little bit frustrating for you. So up to you with that one, guys. Where you want to plug and play, which position you need as well. If you actually want to trade, or it's best to hold for you this week, or if you think that one trade might be beneficial for you in the next few weeks. I wish you all the best of luck with that. And as I said, we'll get into the other shorter video with the holds, with the sells, and also with potentially some of the cheaper guys that you could look at heading in to round 22. Good luck, guys, and we'll see you in that next one.